Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Nazir page 40, which discusses that when it comes to three different individuals, one of them being our case of a Nazir, at the end of that person's time being a Nazir, which could be for 30 days or longer depending on the situation, so we know that they bring sacrifices in the temple, but in addition to that, they actually will cut their hair, which means not just a short little haircut, but they actually have to shave their hair completely. And it's derived directly from the verse that a person in that circumstance is required to use a razor to shave their hair so that they are completely bald, so that the hair is actually literally ripped or removed from its source. Now, this is actually quite fascinating because we often see many people, some people will think they're only rabbis, but a lot of people who are exceedingly observant, we find these men that they have beards, lengthy beards. And it's based on the verse in the Torah, which says literally that the corners of your beard, you're not allowed to cut. Now, on a very simple reading, that means one should never cut their beard. In fact, there are those individuals such as Lubavitcher Hasidim, they are often careful not to ever cut their beard, or perhaps at least for an extensive period of time. The reality is that the Talmud here tells us that there are two key words that are found. One is the element of shaving, and the other one is destruction. And it's necessary to be able to have something which does both. In other words, if, let's say, a person would put some type of cream in which would remove the hair, so even though it's possible that that cream has the ability to remove it completely from its source, that is a form of destruction, but it's not shaving. And therefore, that's actually not a prohibition. On the other hand, if you would find a situation where you are shaving, but let's say you have some type of an electric shaver that doesn't do a lift and cut, or maybe even if it does, it's questionable, which is beyond the scope of this, but that in itself is shaving without destruction. So the Talmud says it's only something which is a tar, which is a razor. Only a razor has the ability to be able to do both. And therefore, according to Jewish law, even people who do shave typically will not use a straight-edged razor, because that is considered to be something in which not only destroys, in other words, completely removes the hair from its root, but also it's a form of shaving. However, any other form on the simple reading is actually allowed. However, it's interesting because it's not so simple that everyone holds like that. There's actually an opinion that says that a person who would even use scissors, that potentially could also be a problem. And it's brought down actually on the next page, on 41, Tosfos brings down that the world is accustomed that when they finally give haircuts to their children, they leave a significant amount of hair. And even though, again, it doesn't mean that you cannot cut hair by the corners of the beard or by one's payos, but it means it cannot be to the point that it's completely removed, that you almost can't see it. Or some people say you can't pinch any of the hair because it's so cut off. And therefore, because of that, again, we see many people who have the custom of growing beards and having side locks, are called payos. A paya actually comes from this verse, which literally means corner, that a person is not allowed to cut the corners of their hair. And therefore, payos or payot literally just means corners. And that's the significance of this prohibition. Again, everyone should follow their traditions, but the absolute letter of the law is that a person should not shave with something which is destructive, and shaving, which is generally translated as a razor.